Mission. Isaiah called the people of Judah to repentance and warned them of the consequences of their idolatry and injustice. He also prophesied about the coming of the Messiah, who would be a light to the nations, Isaiah 9 verses 6 to 7, 53:1-12. Idolatry addressed. Isaiah condemned the worship of idols, describing them as lifeless objects that could not save, Isaiah 44 verses 9 to 20. Connection to Yeshua. Isaiah's prophecies about the suffering servant foreshadowed Jesus' sacrificial death for humanity's sins. Mission. Known as the Weeping Prophet, Jeremiah warned Judah of the impending Babylonian exile due to their persistent sin and idolatry. He also proclaimed hope for a new covenant, Jeremiah 31 verses 31 to 34. Idolatry addressed. Jeremiah rebuked the people for forsaking Yahweh and turning to Baal and other foreign gods, Jeremiah 10 verses 1 to 10. Connection to Yeshua. The new covenant prophesied by Jeremiah is fulfilled in Jesus, who established it through his blood, Luke 22 verse 20. Mission. Ezekiel ministered during the Babylonian exile, calling the exiles to repentance and giving hope for restoration. He had vivid visions, including the Valley of Dry Bones, Ezekiel 37. Idolatry addressed. Ezekiel condemned Israel's spiritual adultery, likening their idolatry to unfaithfulness in marriage, Ezekiel 16:23. Connection to Yeshua. Ezekiel's vision of the restored temple, Ezekiel 40-48, foreshadows Jesus as the ultimate temple and source of living water, John 2 verses 19-21. Mission. Daniel served in Babylon and remained faithful to God amidst a pagan culture. He received visions about future kingdoms and the end times. Idolatry addressed. Daniel resisted idolatry, exemplified by refusing to worship the golden statue of Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel 3. Connection to Yeshua. Daniel's vision of the Son of Man receiving an eternal kingdom, Daniel 7 verses 13-14, points to Jesus' reign. Mission. Hosea's life and message symbolized God's love and faithfulness despite Israel's unfaithfulness. Idolatry addressed. Hosea condemned Israel's worship of Baal and reliance on foreign alliances, Hosea 2:13-12. Connection to Yeshua. Hosea's message of redemption reflects Jesus' love for his church. Mission. Joel warned of God's coming judgment, the day of the Lord, and called for repentance. Idolatry addressed. Though Joel focuses on judgment, his call to repentance applies to abandoning all sin, including idolatry. Connection to Yeshua. Joel's prophecy of the outpouring of the Spirit, Joel 2 verses 28-32, was fulfilled at Pentecost, Acts 2. Mission. Amos denounced social injustice and the hypocrisy of Israel's worship. Idolatry addressed. Amos condemned empty religious rituals and the worship of false gods. Amos 5 verses 21-27. Connection to Yeshua. Amos' call for justice and righteousness aligns with Jesus' teachings. Matthew 23 verse 23. Mission. Obadiah prophesied judgment against Edom for its arrogance and mistreatment of Israel. Connection to Yeshua. Obadiah's message of God's sovereignty reflects Jesus' ultimate victory over all nations. Mission. Jonah was sent to Nineveh to call the Assyrians to repentance. Idolatry addressed. The people of Nineveh turned from their wicked ways, including idolatry, at Jonah's preaching, Jonah 3 verses 5-10. Connection to Yeshua. Jonah's 3 days in the fish prefigures Jesus' 3 days in the tomb, Matthew 12 verse 40. Mission. Micah called out the leaders of Israel for their corruption and foretold the Messiah's birthplace in Bethlehem, Micah 5 verse 2. Idolatry addressed. Micah denounced idol worship and false prophets, Micah 1 verse 7. Connection to Yeshua. Micah's vision of peace and justice points to Jesus' millennial reign. Mission. Nahum prophesied the downfall of Nineveh, highlighting God's justice. Connection to Yeshua. Nahum's emphasis on God as a refuge points to Jesus as the ultimate source of salvation. Mission. Habakkuk questioned God's justice but ultimately trusted his plan. Connection to Yeshua. The righteous living by faith, Habakkuk 2 verse 4, is fulfilled in Jesus, Romans 1 verse 17. Mission. Zephaniah warned of the day of the Lord and called for repentance. Idolatry addressed. He condemned syncretism and the worship of Baal, Zephaniah 1 verses 4 to 6. Connection to Yeshua. Zephaniah's promise of restoration reflects Jesus' ultimate redemption. Mission. Haggai encouraged the rebuilding of the temple after the exile. Connection to Yeshua. Haggai's focus on God's dwelling place foreshadows Jesus as the true temple, John 2 verses 19 to 21. Mission. Zechariah encouraged the post-exilic community and prophesied about the coming Messiah. Connection to Yeshua. Zechariah's visions of the king riding on a donkey, Zechariah 9 verse 9, were fulfilled in Jesus' triumphal entry. Mission. Malachi called for spiritual renewal and foretold the coming of Elijah before the Messiah, Malachi 4 verses 5 to 6. Connection to Yeshua. John the Baptist, as the forerunner of Jesus, fulfilled Malachi's prophecy. The prophet's messages repeatedly emphasize the danger of idolatry, the need for repentance, and the hope of restoration. In Revelation, Yeshua brings these themes to their climax, fulfilling God's promises and executing final judgment against idolatry and sin.